Shut up and sit down.
Hello, Phantoms fans. Welcome to the Dump and Chase podcast. I'm Sam Olmstead.
And I'm Justin Irwin.
Let's do it.
And it truly is the most wonderful time of the year. Phantoms hockey is back for another season, and so are we. Thank you for listening in. This is the Dump and Chase podcast. My name is Sam Olmstead, and with me, as always, is the yin to my yang, the wind beneath my wings, the Peter Nedved to my Sergei Zubov, Mr. Justin Irwin.
Ow. Nedved.
As always, it's an honor to get to work with you again this season.
Yeah, same here. I appreciate working with me as well. You too.
That was good. You read that exactly the way I wrote it. Good job there. But anyways, again, thank you for tuning in. Season is in full swing now. Phantoms had 3 games this past weekend, 2 at the UPMC facility in Cranberry, and 1 at home at the Goalie Center. We got a little bit of everything. Pretty much an outright loss, an outright win, and an overtime loss we should have won.
Yeah, so we went a perfect 500 to open, which isn't terribly bad considering some years. Yeah, there was definitely a point there that we should have had and left on the table, so we'll just have to go from there.
So just real quickly, we'll go through the games this past weekend. Justin has the recaps on hockeyfan.com. If you want more in depth, you can go check those out. We're not going to beat a dead horse here. Pretty straightforward. The game last Thursday was Cedar Rapids. Phantoms lost 6-2. The name of the game there was basically penalties for the Phantoms. 2 quick penalties leads to 2 quick goals, and it pretty much went downhill from there.
A lot of it was, I think, rust and inexperience. That was most of those players' first USHL games. Most of them, had only played at the highest against the NAHL, and we only played null teams in preseason. So, lack of experience there. I think that really showed. We got behind the 8 ball and pretty much folded.
Then we move into the game on Friday with Tri-City, which we honestly thought was going to be the tougher of the 2 games. For the Phantoms, they pretty much just fast start out of the gate, didn't let up, picked up a 5-2 win against Tri-City. Changing goaltender for that game, that's something we're going to get into here in a little bit. Was able to keep things in check a lot better on Friday.
Yeah, night and day, pretty much the exact opposite. We did to them what Cedar Rapids did to us. Fast start, foot on the gas, displayed a lot of skill on the ice. Kuntar, Ondo, it was a really impressive game. Josh DeLuca had a highlight reel goal. He's not normally known for that, so it was a really, really good game. Team looked really promising.
So then for Saturday, the Phantoms travel back to the Goalie Center for their first home game of the season, going against Madison, who a lot of the opinion seems to be it's going to be another down year for Madison. Phantoms jump up to a 4-1 lead at the end of the first period. Madison claws their way back, ties the game at 5 with about a minute and a half left in the game, something around there. Game goes to overtime. Madison wins in overtime. Just a game where Phantoms had everything working for them in the first period and then completely let off the gas in the second. Like you said, it was a lost point. It was a game that very easily could have been won, and it was pretty much given away.
Yeah, we just kind of faded out. By the time we woke back up a little bit, it was a little too late. Madison had the momentum. That said, we did have a 5-4 lead in the last minute. They had their netminder pulled. The shot that went in was not due to having a 6-man on the ice. I'll go into that when we get to the goaltenders, but it was a tough one to swallow, but hopefully just a learning experience, something the coach can preach in the locker room. Don't ever let up.
Unfortunately, kind of brought back memories of the end of last season. That's now 2 games in a row at the Goalie Center that ended with an overtime loss. So hopefully we can get that taste out of our mouth and get back to winning. I as far as the overall theme of this past weekend, definitely was the discipline of the team. Too many penalties being taken. The penalty killing. In my opinion, those guys had to be tired. You're pretty much running the same 8 guys out there for all these penalty kills, but it just wasn't up to snuff. And 2 of these 3 games really hurt the Phantoms.
And I mean, like you said, those guys are getting beat up. Other teams are just kind of running over our penalty kill. We're not being very effective. The Tri-City game showed us that if we stay disciplined, it turns out totally different. So
sometimes it just makes you wonder, I mean, is there recliners in the penalty box? It seems like we hit these stretches where players are in that penalty box for a majority of the game.
Yeah, it's become kind of a theme, but
did Joey Abate leave snacks in there for other players, or?
Yeah, I think he's left some magazines in there. You know, I'm trying to keep this clean.
Another big thing with this past weekend, going into the season, we were pretty confident we were looking at the goalie tandem of Dominic Bassi and Colin Purcell. McLean Dorr was somebody who came in very late in the process, ended up on the 23-man roster. And that first game, Dominic Bassi, it didn't help with the amount of penalties, the amount of penalty killing, the shots coming his way. He just didn't seem comfortable at all.
No, and I think, like I've pointed out in the recap, some of that might have been because the guys in front of him were kind of deer in the headlights. He had a lot of stuff coming at him. That said, yeah, maybe 1 or 2 soft goals, just never got a chance to get his legs under him.
And then the game with Tri-City, we saw Colin Purcell in goal, him getting his first USHL action. A couple little hiccups later in the game, but at that point the game was pretty much out of hand. Other than that, especially in the first period, looked extremely solid.
Yeah, he handled most everything that came at him. Again, maybe the team in front of him was a little bit better prepared, able to box out, able to clean up a little bit better, but he definitely looked like a USHL caliber goaltender.
And then in the game in Madison, we saw McLean Dorr starting in goal. The first period, he looked good. He didn't see a ton of action down on that end. A lot of the play was down in the Phantoms' end. He didn't see a whole lot. Second period, into the third period, the Phantoms kind of let up on the gas. You started seeing more penalties. He started to get peppered more. A couple of those goals were real head scratchers.
Again, the late game tying goal, that one was from the penalty box door, just kind of thrown in the zone. Might have tipped off of a Phantom stick out high. He just went down to cover it as it slid along the ice. It was a slow sliding puck. Should have been easy to just put the trapper or glove over, cover up, get the whistle at the very least. If you got a guy open, maybe move it. Plenty of options, but maybe it tipped off of his stick and just kind of rolled past him. I don't want to beat up on the kid, but that was definitely one that he needed to stop. I'm sure he wants it back, but yeah, then we go into overtime and ended in a Madison win.
Now, during the game, we were asked a couple times, who we thought was going to be the goalie moving forward. I guess the easiest answer to that, it's early in the season, and we have no clue. We saw some good from all 3. We saw some bad from all 3. A couple of them maybe a little more. But yeah, at this point, it's just too early in the season to tell.
Yeah, like I said, I think Purcell's probably at this point locked in, unless something happens to him drastic. I would have said that maybe Dorr had the running edge until about the 59-minute mark of that game. So I think now probably Bassi has the edge, but that will be really, really dependent on how he plays. I don't know if Dorr gets another crack, but if Bassi doesn't play well, he will be there.
So coming up on this weekend, at the Covelli Center, we have the Muskegon Lumberjacks coming down for 2 games on Friday and Saturday. Muskegon has had a couple good years, a couple good seasons. Right off the bat seems to be on a little bit of a downturn. Yeah, they dropped both of their games at the Fall Classic, dropped 3 of 4 games to a North American Hockey League team in exhibition play, which I don't care. I'm just going to bring that up as many times as I can.
Yeah. I mean, these things happen. It's preseason. You're not really thinking about wins and losses, especially against all teams. But you gotta scratch your head a little bit at that. You drop 3 out of 4 to the Janesville Jets, who are a good club. If you think that the USHL is that much above the null, then there is some competition there.
So, in all honesty, that's really all we got for this week. Shorter, less filling, tastes great. I mean,
yeah, we don't want to bore you guys.
No.
And it's going to be a long season, so.
If anybody's been paying attention on Twitter this week, Justin has furiously been trying to catch up with recaps and everything, getting everything ready for this weekend, plus with his work schedule. So definitely major props to you for being able to get all this stuff done.
Yeah, I think I'll have most everything caught up by tomorrow. Hopefully I'll be able to get this into the post-processing for the video upload.
All the magic computer stuff we do to make this slightly more listenable than it is in a raw edit.
Yeah, well, we've got to keep it above the level where we're in violation of the Geneva Convention.
It gets us every single time. Yeah, so to wrap up this episode, one thing I did want to bring up is former Phantom Kyle Connor. I believe Elite Prospects lists him as a cult player for the Youngstown Phantoms. Whoever decided to come up with that. But no, Kyle Connor, former Phantom, currently with the Winnipeg Jets in the NHL, just announced last weekend, signed a 7-year contract worth roughly $50 million with the Winnipeg Jets. So, Kyle's making it rain up in Canada right now.
Yeah, definitely props to him. He did some shrewd negotiating, held out there for a while, a la Peter Nedved. Not really. But anyway, yeah, he got what he wanted, and Winnipeg definitely will get their money's worth. I've seen Kyle Connor play a lot of games, and he's going to just keep getting better and better and better.
Yeah, that Peter Nedved reference really gave you some diaper rash, didn't it?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, well, he was the hero for one game and then the villain the rest of his career.
All right, well, that wraps it up for this episode. Don't forget to subscribe to this channel. If you haven't heard before, the podcast, all of Justin's highlights from the games have moved over to the channel you are currently listening to this episode on. So make sure you subscribe to this channel. And other than that, I guess we'll see everybody this weekend at the Goalie Center.
Hope so.
That was good. You read that exactly the way I wrote that, too.
I must be psychic tonight.
All right. Good night, everybody.